Hey, we are live. We are
Broadcast
live.
is live.
So, welcome everybody to a little interview here that we're going to do with Eric Rodriguez. Eric is somebody that I've been talking to on Quora, and his profile on Quora is right down there in the banner, and it will be in the description. As soon as we're done with the discussion today, I will go and make sure that gets in the description. So, Eric, would you like to say anything?
Hey, thank you, Matt. Appreciate the invite. Um, yeah, I met Matt on Quora discussing, I think, flat Earth, which is one of the topics that I cover. I cover stock market trading for years now, and I'm a mentor on that. And I do also a little bit of God debate. I like doing that on Quora, and I also do Dungeons and Dragons D&D questions. Quora is a cool app where I feel like intellectuals can come and commence as equals, even though we have a different worldview. So in this case, we're going to discuss flat Earth tonight, and just yeah, I want to answer some questions, and I'll do my best.
All right, great.
Warning, trigger warning, starting now.
Trigger warning. What was that?
Yeah, trigger warning, starting now for people that are opposed to the flat Earth.
Right, right. Yes, fair enough.
And I realized that we're the same age, and we're the same sign, Aries.
Oh yeah,
So I know Aries are very competitive, and we like to compete, and we're very strong-willed, so we can be stubborn. So just for you listeners, just take it as it comes. You don't have to make sense of it right away. We're just going to discuss ideas. We're not going to debate. We're just going to talk about our worldviews a little bit, and then you can just take it for what it's worth.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, well said. Well said. We're not debating. We're discussing. And the first question I have for you, I put it up on the screen here, is how did you become a flat earther?
Okay, I can see it. So back in it was October 2016. Um, you guys know, like, when something really important happens, you remember where you were, or like maybe a catastrophe, like 9/11, or I don't know. You just remember that time frame where you were. I was at the mall watching my kid play on the little merry-go-round kind of thing inside the mall, the little playpen area, and I came across the Mark Sargent's video, "Flat Earth Clues." So, and I've heard Flat Earth before. Didn't really care. Didn't know what that was. But something got me on the video, that it resonated with me, and because a lot of it was I thought was foolish, like, why am I listening to this? And I'm not sure what the point was, but he was talking about how flight paths were skewed in the southern regions, and you couldn't. We didn't have constant surveillance over our planes, where our planes were in the southern regions. I thought that was really weird, you know. And that day uh, is when I came upon the flat Earth, and I thought to myself, "Wow, man, this is." First of all, I got scared. I thought maybe they were listening to me. You know how the conspiracy is, they're watching us through our cell phones, right? So you never know. So I thought, are they watching me through my cell phone, watching the flat Earth? I'm not in trouble. Uh, so that was the first time, and then I took some time, maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks, looking into it, and I just couldn't get out of my mind. I couldn't not see it. Once you see something, you can't not see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I know how that
Like
is.
if
Yeah.
like if your wife cheats on you, you can't not. That's just gonna be there. you know. Um,
Yeah. Hopefully not.
so what happened was, previous to that, um, I I uh, I felt like there's a narrative, like in the news, like the news, like it's fake, like fake news. And there's a narrative in education, which is like to be a worker bee, to not to be independent, to not to get rich, to not to do anything important, to put your head down, pay taxes for 40 years, and retire broke, you know. And I think I went to the stock market to learn about that because that was like one of the avenues for wealth, you know. So I did that early on, thank God, you know. But for most people, they don't have that choice to not have to work 9 to 5 for 40 years or more, 50 years, you know. See those people at Walmart, you know, like 80 years old, you know, working McDonald's, you know. So when I came across the flat earth, it really made sense because it's it's answering the questions like why, like what's going on. And the belief I had previous to this and disenforced it was that there's evil forces that are controlling our governments. And unfortunately, it's through the whole world. So that's why it made sense to me.
All
And
right.
that's why they would lie. And that's why they would lie about it.
Mm. Okay.
And I haven't, you know, I looked into it, talked to people, debated, haven't seen any evidence that it's not that. You know.
Okay. Let me just ask the one thing you mentioned. The first thing you mentioned was like the southern flights. And I think what Mark Sargent talks about is southern flights. They drop off of the the GPS signals, and then they come back on the other side or whatever, right? Is that
Something
what
like
you're
that,
saying?
yeah. I don't want to get too
Did you
into
ever
it, but
check? Did you ever
I don't want
check
to
to
get
see
too
if
into
that
it
was
because we don't want
true?
to debate, but I don't want to get too into it because I want to debate, but
Yeah, don't want to debate. Just want to ask you:
for
Did you
example,
go and
that
check
plane that vanished,
which one? The
that
Malaysian
India
flight?
one, yeah, they had no idea where it is. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that would never happen if we had constant surveillance of our planes, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the problem. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do any research very thoroughly on Southern Flight Pass.
Okay. That's cool.
What I did believe is what I told you, which is we have like blind spots, I guess one may call it, and say it, blind spots where we don't know where our planes are. That's what I heard,
All right.
and that wasn't the key that made me a flat earther. That was just one of the straws that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, that sort of like got your attention.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things you also mentioned just now sort of pulls into this question, which is, what was school like for you?
Well, we went to a private Catholic school, so it was a little different, but my parents thought it was good to get religious education, so we did that up until high school, through high school, and I thought it was pretty fun. I mean, looking back, I think it's probably my school's probably like everybody else's school. The only difference being that we get that 1 hour of religion. The Catholic schools where we'll pray or whatever, we'll read the Bible. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. But I think school is, as far as education in general, fails because most of the kids are just regurgitating information, memorizing stuff that's already been told to them. And I think I mentioned this before to you, not arguing, but for the most part, we're not learning anything. We're just reading and memorizing supposed facts that were given to us. For example, like in the first grade, they hit us for that globe in the classroom. That globe in the classroom, you're there with the globe, spinning the globe like a toy. Why
Yeah,
is
it was
that globe
fun.
there? Why is that globe even there? Here we are. For us, it's what 45 years later. We're not in space. We're not doing anything with the planets. So you can teach people on the flat map. And so I look back and I see a narrative. They're trying to impress something. Like my kid, who's in the first grade, my youngest kid. they're asking her what planet does she want to go to in her schoolwork. Wow, like why would you introduce this before the kids can even critically think? Why? So it'll be ingrained in their brain. They'll believe it when they get older, whether it's true or not. That's why I think. So back on education is because it's good, that you're learning, but you're just regurgitating stuff that people have done for so many years. And who are these people? Education, unfortunately, is controlled. It's not. They're not asking you in class, hey, what happens when you take a magnifying glass to a crayon? I learned that for myself. What they'll tell you in the book, oh, this is what happens. Heat, paper burns at 450 degrees. It's not an experiment. Instead, it's just a regurgitation of what the facts are already laid out for you. So we're not doing any learning except for just memorizing. So I think that's why school fails in general.
So in your school experience, you were not taught critical thinking. That wasn't something that they talked about.
Define critical thinking.
Well, I felt like I think you used the term. So for me, critical thinking is when you are critical of ideas, where you say, I don't know, like 451 degrees, right? Paper burns at 451, I'm told. So I could just accept that, or I could be critical of it, and I could say, how do you know that? Show me how you know that. And then if the person can either show me an experiment or come up with some way to back that up so that I know that it's really true, or at least I have some confidence that they've researched it, then I would feel better about it. And I would call that critical thinking. So was that concept ever brought up? The concept that maybe you will hear false facts, that someone will say something that's not true, and it'll be up to you to figure out whether it is or not.
Yeah, that's something that you might have like in a science class, like one day of the month or something like that, when you're actually doing the experiment. Not when you're just
so you did do experiments in
getting
science
pounded by it. Not when you're just getting pounded by facts, like in biology or whatever.
right?
So I say very little critical thinking. I mean, I think there's some critical thinking. Like
Did you do
they
some
will do some
experiments?
experiments. We did do some experiments. But think about the experiment. If you had to achieve the answer they wanted, you couldn't have your own independent answer. For example, if you did, you'd fail the test. That's another thing. Like if you take education in a bulk, you just have to put the answer they want. They don't want you to do critical thinking. For example, again, back to first grade, which is really strange to me now that I think about it. I had to memorize the planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Neptune, Pluto. I had to do that to get to A, right? So I did that. But that was great. They got my head was all in space.
Mm-hmm.
Come to realize that we can't really see Pluto or these other planets they discuss. So you couldn't really critically think that. You had to take their word for it. Later on down the line, it comes out that they took Pluto off the planet list. So now it's only up until Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, up to Neptune. So now there's 8 planets. So Monday, 9 planets, science fact. Tuesday, 8 planets, science fact. So they're changing science facts to fit their narrative, and there's no critical thinking. That's my point.
Okay.
Except for maybe measuring when heat burns a paper. You can do that experiment. You can do that experiment in the classroom. But you can't experiment about Pluto, about the core of the Earth, about all this nonsense, which I think is nonsense, which more flat earthers think the education's riddled with nonsense, but that we can't test, for example, how does the Earth look from space? Well, unfortunately, we can't go there ourselves, but NASA is willing to put all these great pictures of Earth, round, nice ball round pictures, which we know now that are faked or composites or colored, and we thought that they were just taking the Hubble telescope and taking a picture. But unfortunately, it's not. what if I was to tell you that these pictures of space, man? If I was to tell you, well, you've been in the flat Earth debate, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we don't want to turn it into a debate. So,
But if I was to tell you that they take 17 satellites and take little pictures of the Earth like this and sew them all together, and then they make it into a round ball. So it's not actually a one-shot picture like you think it is.
No. Sometimes they do that. Sometimes they do that. Yes.
And they pass it off like it's a real picture. They don't say this is not a real picture. No. They don't say, like again, Burger King, it says not to actual size. They have a big burger. The toy on the box.
Let me pause you.
Size,
let's tap on the brakes because we're going into debate zone.
Globe Earth. Hey, this is how it looks. Well, maybe not because they sewed 17 satellites together.
Hold on. You're saying a lot of things that are in dispute, right? So let's not go into debate zone. You may have never heard this before, but the opposing side, the Glober view, is that yes, sometimes they take composite shots, and they are always upfront about that. They'll say exactly that it is a composite shot, and sometimes they are full frame images. When they are full frame images, and I can, if you don't think there are any full frame images, I can find you some later. But there are some satellites that can take full frame images. But most of the time, it's a composite. And they have good reasons, and they say that it's a composite. No one was trying to trick you. Okay, that's the opposing view. So we have the two views. The one view is your view is, hey, they never told me that they were these composite shots. They were trying to trick me. And then the other view is, yes, they're composites. They weren't trying to trick you. You want one that's not a composite, here it is, right? So those are the two views.
Okay, that's fair, but do you know that NASA uses artists to draw planets and stars and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. See, my thinking would be, why would NASA need artists at all? Because aren't they showing us what's out there? That would be my critical thinking on that. Like, wait a minute, hey.
Right, and that's a good question. We're a bit off of our interview topics, but if you don't mind answering, let me ask you this. When you have a question like that, like, hey, why does NASA need artists? That's a good question. Do you say to yourself, A, I should ask somebody who knows that answer? Or do you say, B, they're all liars?
Sorry. Well, you have to use...
There's people who are totally happy. I'll happily tell you the science answer. I'll tell you what NASA says, because of course they have to justify hiring an artist, right? Right? So if they hire an artist, they have to have a justification, and they'll give it to you. So I can repeat that for you if you want.
But
I won't push it on you if you don't care.
Because you know about what a conspiracy is. They have an answer to everything when they make the conspiracy. If you want to fake a murder, for example, you might, we're going to cover it up. We're going to put the gun in his hand, and we're going to throw some pills in the ground. This guy is depressed, He wanted to commit suicide, So of course they would think that through. So no need to explain it, because the explanations that I've seen, honestly, are ridiculous.
Right.
And that fits my belief that that it's faked, and also why, different reasons why. But
there you go. Yeah, and so I think
so. There is critical thinking.
We have
you don't get an answer
for the other side, but you're not really interested in those because you don't trust those people. That fair?
I don't trust them. Yeah, I don't know what they can show me at this point. Once you lost the trust, it's hard to get. I don't know if you could get it back. Like, I think one of your questions was,
you want to go to that one?
I think you said what would prove to me the Earth was round or something like that.
Let's put that one up. Let's do that. Is there anything that could ever change your mind about the shape of the Earth?
I don't think so. Because I've done measurements. I've seen what I've seen, I don't think that they can tell me anything otherwise. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, I'll keep an open mind because, granted, we can always be wrong in our calculations, in our facts, in our critical thinking. So I'll leave it open, but I don't know what that could be. I can't tell you.
So
Um,
I've asked that question before to a few flat earthers, and one answer I commonly get is, if you took me up in a rocket so I could see it for myself, then I'd believe you. How about that? Would that do it?
I don't know. I think I don't know what I would see.
Well,
I think if
let's
if you if
presume you
you
went
if
up
you
in a
ba- if you
rocket. I mean, if you went up in a rocket and you saw what the NASA people show you as photos, and you saw that with your own eyes, what would you say?
I don't know. I would think that maybe they drugged me and hit me over the head, and they're putting dials in my brain trying to control me.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard to say. It's hard. I don't know. I mean,
that's
I'll
pretty
just say I
solid.
keep an open mind. I'll just say I keep an open mind. Nothing's absolute. We could be wrong.
Well,
Um,
seems to me that your idea of open mind and acknowledging
I
you
I
could be
have one
wrong is
thing.
that's
I have one
good,
thing.
but if I showed it to you in a rocket with your own eyes and you still didn't believe it, that doesn't sound like an open mind. What do you think about that?
Well, if you see um, something like it's hard to. I don't want to. The example I come up with, like if your wife's cheating on you, you catch him in bed, cheating, right?
Huh?
What and then you ask me, which is what I've done, by the way. I caught him cheating, caught him lying, I caught him cheating, in my
Hmm.
mind. So then you ask me, what could I show you that would prove it false? I've already seen it. You can't, once you go flat, you can't go back. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
I've already seen that. I've seen him faking it. I've seen him lying about it. And the strange thing is they've pulled the wool over our eyes to make us think that this is true because they put it on TV, put it on the news,
Hmm.
hit us with the globe in the first grade. It must be true. It's in the book. It's in the school book. It's gotta be
Hmm.
true. And I think that's what is they're floating on is mass propaganda, mind control. You
Okay.
know, and that's hard to break through. I mean, I think Hitler's one who said if you want to, the best thing to do with the opposition is to control the opposition. So if they're controlling the opposition, which is a fake narrative of the flat Earth, which is flat Earth society, which is not us, not flat Earth.
Right.
They'll show you. And here's the thing: why would let's say flat Earth isn't true? It's just fake, whatever. Why would they take so many steps to try to prove it false? To try to make it look so stupid. For example, in school, we saw the picture of the boat going over the edge. You know, that's
Yeah.
what they,
Okay.
they said, and something like they thought the Earth was flat, and Christopher Columbus was sailing, and look, the boat. They thought they drew a picture of a boat going over the edge, and there's dragons down there. How stupid is that? You must be stupid if you think the Earth is flat. You know. So this is a false. We don't believe that. That's not what we believe. So that's called a false narrative. Another false narrative is they'll draw like a world disc, like a pizza, in outer space. We don't believe that either. I mean, we never believe that. They have the flat Earth society where they think the gravity is created because the Earth moves up eight
Nine
how
point
many
eight.
feet,
Nine point
whatever.
eight meters per second. 32
Yeah,
feet
so
per
now
second.
the Earth
Right.
is
Yeah.
floating up, and that creates the gravity. That's like the
We
stupidest
have
thing.
somebody.
If I came across that, I would think the flat Earth is stupid. I would just go on to the next video or just go on to the next thing I was talking about. But we don't believe that. So that's called a false narrative. So they're controlling
Right.
the opposition, making us look stupid. And why would they take so much time and energy to do that? And
Okay.
furthermore,
Can I
wait,
pause you
wait,
for
wait,
a
wait.
second?
One more thing,
Oh,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing. Furthermore,
Go ahead.
YouTube, just in our time we've been discussing this last year or so, they've admitted that they're hiding flat Earth content and they're promoting their Globe Earth content. Why would they do that? Why would they need to do that?
Okay.
It was fake.
Again, you're
To
asking
me,
questions.
that makes no sense to me. So
You're
it's
asking
like
questions. Would you
this
like
whole
answers?
conspiracy is coming together. You know,
Would you like answers to these questions, or are they questions that
you can give me a general
are not
answer, and I won't
expected to
debate
come?
it. I'll accept it. Whatever general answer you give me, I'll accept it. But you get my point. They're making it look stupid. We don't
Uh-huh.
believe that. By the way, what we believe is that the Earth is the floor of the universe. It just goes on. We don't know how far it goes. There's no edge. Like that's the first thing that. Oh, where's the edge? Well, we don't know. It it could be indefinite. You know, if you show me the edge of space, and I'll show you the edge of the flat Earth. It'll be right under that edge of space that you're looking at. So we
Great.
think the Earth is just a floor. It's indefinite.
I'd like to ask you
There's
more,
no edge.
not so
For
much
the
about
record, there's no
what
edge.
it is you believe. I'm more interested about the we you're talking about. Who is this we?
I mean, like,
Do you have the impression that there are a group of flat earthers who all believe the same thing?
yeah, like if you look at like the flat Earth leaders, you know, you got Eddie Bravo, Karen B, Jaron Campanella, Mark Sargent, Eric Dubay, Nicole Cote. These people, Woketown. Woketown has a few good videos, and he's religious, so I'm cool with him. These people pretty much believe the same thing. There's some discrepancies, you know, like something there's a dome. We can't obviously reach the dome, you know, like in the Bible.
Do you think there's a dome?
There's a, I believe there's a firmament. But I can't reach it. I know that much. So you can't test it, you know. But I believe it firmament because I believe Genesis, the Bible, and then I bring the Bible to this stuff, and it's like wow, revelation, you know. It's like this is in the Bible, you know. Um, you know, the earth sits on nothing. Like, how would they know that? So you take your religious beliefs, and if they match your worldviews, that's like a confirmation.
Let's go for this banner here. So, what religion are you?
I'm Catholic. I would like to say Christian because Christians just believe in Christ. They believe in God.
Okay, I'm going to segue
But
straight into this
let
one.
me explain. Not until I study religion. See, I'm willing to admit that religion doesn't advertise or allow other religions. They want you to be in the only religion is their religion, right? So I studied the Quran and the Bible and the Torah and the Talmud, and what I found out later in life that this is Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. It's all the same God. I didn't know that. They call them Abrahamic religions. If you look in the holy books, it's talking about Abraham, Garden of Eden. Angel Gabriel appears in each of the books, the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, for example. They just call God Allah. You know, that's the name for God. And call him God, you know. So didn't know that until I looked into it, until I did critical thinking, Matt. Looked into it, and you know what? These are just offshoots. These are just different cultures that
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
built around the same religion, the same God. You know, because you wear something on your head doesn't make you, you know, fine with me. You can wear a
That's right.
little thing, or whatever you want to do. You know, it doesn't make you different. Just different culture.
Yes, I think that's right. And as
So
a
I did the
single
critical
banner
thinking
here,
on that. I did the critical thinking on the religions.
I was just saying in the banner here, you mentioned that you're Catholic. I don't
Yes.
think the Catholic Church promotes flat Earth. So I was going to ask, does your religion teach that the Earth is
No,
flat?
I believe the Bible promotes flat Earth. If you look at some of the verses, the Earth is set like clay under a seal and the clay under a seal is when you have that Roman ring and you put that plastic, that wax.
Wax?
It's indented. It's flat, but it's indented.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at all these different verses, and it seems to be a flat Earth book to me. Of course, Bible needs to be interpreted. You know, you have to understand what that really means. You know, different things you can take different ways. You know, the Earth is God's footstool. You know, have you seen a footstool that's not flat? It's just one there for you to think about.
Does it?
That's not proof. That's not proof. That's just a thing.
Does it bother you
there
at
are
all, though? Does it bother you at all that the Catholic Church, straight up to the Pope and everyone below him, says, no, we have an observatory, we study
it,
science,
it
the Earth
bothered
is
it didn't bother me when I was a Catholic
4 billion years
growing up.
old?
It didn't bother me when I was growing up and I was Catholic. I didn't care about that. I didn't care about that stuff. But when I
Yeah.
looked into it,
How do
on
you
the
feel
flat
about
Earth
it?
side, it bothered me because what it turns out is that science is fooling the whole world. They're pulling the wool over our eyes. And I don't know of any religions that embrace the flat Earth by the religion, but I know that there's creationists. Oh, by the way, I'm a creationist. That happened
It tends to go together.
sometime, I guess, actually before flat Earth. I was into that creationism. I sent my kids to a creationist Baptist school. My first 2 kids. Now, at the time, I was like, whatever, it's religion, let them have. It was a high-rated school at the time. I was not a creationist about that, but then it made me remember something in school. When I was in the 5th grade, when we learned about evolution, the teacher put the book down for a second. Just stuff you remember, looking back. And again, I didn't really care. I was like looking at girls, I wasn't paying attention, But I remember the teacher puts the book down and goes, now they show us a picture, how you have the monkey, it looks, then it turns to a caveman, then it turns to a guy with a suitcase,
Right,
This is
right.
evolution.
That's
This
good,
is
yeah.
evolution. This is we're in science class. We're doing science. And then she put the book down and says, well, I want to let you know that I'm not going to question the religion. If you have a belief that this is not true, that's okay. And then I was paying attention. I was like, wait. How would we not believe that? Didn't we come from monkeys, apes, human ancestor idea? Not an ancestor like my ancestors were Indians or Spanish, like ancestors like a monkey ancestor, right? How can you think differently? And I thought about that for a while. I didn't get it. I didn't get that she was saying this might not be true and it's okay if you don't believe it. I didn't get that part because the whole class, for the most part, and all society believes in science, which actually, now I look about now, is against God. I see that now. I didn't see that before.
Okay.
And that's why I'm with the Creationist belief, and
So, yeah,
we didn't come from
I had a
from a
similar.
Big Bang. We didn't turn from a plant into a zygote, into a reptile, into a dolphin, into an ape, and then a human. In the Bible it says species take after their own kind. That makes more sense to me. So I believe that Adam was laid in the garden, just like it says in the Bible, blew life into him, Adam and Eve, and that was the first man. Not that it transmuted from any other life form.
All right. So to clarify, then, you're basically Catholic, but you believe in young Earth creationism and the Earth is flat, biblical stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think then that the Catholic leaders have been tricked, have been fooled, or are they in on it?
That's a good question. With critical thinking, it's hard to know if they're behind the conspiracy or if they've been tricked like most of the rest of the world. Let's just say there's 1% flat Earth, maybe 2% at most. So 98% of the world, I think, has been tricked, and I can't say if they're part of the conspiracy or if they're really just duped like the rest of us.
Okay.
And I can side with that because I was you. I feel like I was you. I guess 4 years ago now. I thought it was cool. Like I love Star Wars. I grew up with that. Galaxy Far, Far Away. That just made that. Yeah. Like I think I hope it's true. Galaxy Far, Far Away. But coming to flat Earth, turns out there isn't far galaxies. These are just lights cast probably through a dome. And NASA's saying they have a super Hubble telescope that can see distant galaxies, but it really can't. So they have to draw pictures. So now, wow, that's just a revelation to me. So it's just a closed system, flat Earth system. We don't know about distant galaxies. We don't know about planets. I think most of it is just nonsense. But that's what most flat earthers believe.
All right. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was something you mentioned to me when we were chatting on Quora, was about your loyalty to your flat Earth brethren. Brethren was the word, right? Could you describe how your sense of loyalty fits into your personal story with all of this?
Well, it's a general thing, like how do you like sports?
Some,
Well, like how like
but I know the deal.
if you're like Miami Dolphins or you're like Atlanta
Yeah.
Falcons, you're loyal to that team. You're gonna root for that team no matter how bad they are, no matter how much they suck. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland Browns is a classic example. Those fans are loyal. They're gonna show up. They're gonna drink and they're gonna go crazy, and their team is awful, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
loyalty, right? So it's just loyalty is like when you're at the dinner party and your wife gets in an argument, you're gonna side with your wife because you're not gonna side with a stranger. You know what I mean? Even if your wife is wrong, for example. So in that way, you're just protecting your family. You're protecting your group. So loyalty in the father just means I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna. And one thing about loyalty is you're not afraid to tell you're a flat earther. That's a big thing because we're outcast, stepped on, trashed, demoted, degraded. Make poked fun at,
Yeah.
and it's a big deal. And there's a lot. I don't know. I said 2%, but there's a lot of closet flat earthers that can't really say that they're flat earthers because of what their family and friends and their peer group would do to them.
Yeah.
Remember
I'd
that
say
video I sent you?
the poll numbers suggest that there are closet flat earthers. And I would back you up that, yeah, I don't think, I do think that a lot of them would be afraid with good reason to come out to their family. We hear stories all the time of people who have had family problems because of this flat earth thing.
Yeah, it could be like I've had little problems, some problems, not a lot, being a Republican. So I'm a Republican. I'll just say that, and and then why and why am I a Republican? I think my family is um, a, a biblical family, so we're against abortion, right? This is like growing up.
Mm.
My dad was abortion's not good. It's not okay to take more than half a pill. Have the baby, and if you don't want it, you can get it for adoption, for example.
Yeah.
So don't kill the baby because you're inconvenienced. That's just something that I grew up with, and I didn't care at the time again. But when I got older, my father passed in 15, and that's like a wake up call for me. Then I look back at the stuff he taught me, and some of the stuff was pretty right on. Even though I fought him at the time because I'm an Aries and because I have my own unique thoughts. But later on, some of that stuff really made sense. Like wow, that was something.
Right.
So mostly Republicans, protect life. And this is a big thing. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Matt, you're a prophet unto the nations, Matt.
Okay.
God knows you. Okay, so now I look at that and go, wow, you can't just, So most of it being Republicans from my family that we are against abortion and we have beliefs that are, right side conservative. So I guess I just covered that. I guess that's enough on that.
Okay. Follow up with that. If your loyalty asks you to go one way and objectivity, or like you mentioned, the truth may be a different way, how do you resolve that? You're
Oh, well,
comfortable just going with
let
loyalty?
me finish on the loyalty. So you're gonna show up, as a fighter. That's like the first thing, So
Mm.
and that's a big step, So you're putting yourself in the way of being criticized, Like me coming on here, some of my family who might not know are gonna see me now. So that's a big thing for me. So
Well,
I'm
lucky
coming
for
out.
you, I only have like 120 subscribers, so no. You're not
Oh
gonna-
no. That's gonna go up when you see my name,
All right,
Eric Rodriguez. Probably the most popular name, Eric Rodriguez.
all right.
Um, so that will change. But you asked a good question. It's kind of like showing up to defend your group. We don't honestly like. I don't really know a lot of this stuff. I'm not a scientist. You just use your better judgment. I like to say common sense, but you try to. You mentioned in a previous discussion that common sense might not always be right. So we don't really know a lot of stuff. If someone says fact this fact, and I say, fact that fact, we don't really know for sure. So we're just taking a side, like
Hmm.
in a football game. That's what it is.
Interesting.
But if someone showed me something that makes sense to me, I will look into it. And it's funny because the globe has answers to everything, and the flat Earth has answers to everything. So you just have to let the audience decide or use your better judgment. For example,
Okay.
like why do I see distant buildings? Why is that building not tucked neatly behind the curve of the Earth? You know, Globers will say, well, light bends around the globe and it's putting the building right on top of it so we can see it. You know what a mirage is, right? But we'll say, no, no,
Mhm.
no, no. No. It should be hidden. If there's a curve, there's an edge of the Earth. There's a curve that building should be behind. It's 50 miles away.
Hmm.
We can do math. So it's like everybody has an answer, and how do you know?
How do you
Really,
know? That's a
you
darn
just
good
have you
question.
have to do your
In
measurements,
fact,
experiments, and then
that's what my whole channel is devoted to is how do you know? Because I assert we could know that. That's actually not that hard. We could do that if you wanted, right? We could
well, I
look for
appreciate
a
that.
building
I
if you
did
wanted to.
I did some core exchanges with you, and I appreciate that. Let's continue that. I really like that. We did a Lego experiment,
Yeah.
which is my first novice, stupid, silly experiment, but I was trying to get back into school in my mind.
Uh-huh.
you know,
Uh-huh.
distant objects, are covered by closer objects. It's not a flat Earth proof, but you could use that to flat Earth. That you can like a ship can block a distant object that's farther. You know,
All right. Let's move on to the next thing here. This is one of the things I'm really interested in. I've always, ever since I got into this, I've been fascinated by the idea that some flat earthers aren't really flat earthers. Do you think there are any flat earth content creators who might be faking it?
sure. I'm sure they are fake. I'm sure there's Globers that fake it. The flat Earth people that fake it probably they might be in it for money or just to get views. Like the person uh, will have a stupid video to get views. You'll jump off a roof or something, right? So those kind of people might try to get on the flat Earth bandwagon and try to get some views, maybe get a few bucks on YouTube or just get some more views and get some more subscribers. Sure, yeah.
Cool. All right. How do you tell which ones are faking and which ones aren't? You got any ideas for me?
Um, you just
'Cause
have to use
I'm
your better.
always having
You have
that
to use your better
debate.
judgment. Like there's one guy that showed up to the conference and he's like doing some stupid conspiracy stuff, and it was like he was interrupting
Right.
the presenter,
Yeah.
Mark Sargent. He was interrupting Mark Sargent. And so this guy, come on, like even if he was a flat earth, he's to be ejected. So the point is, um, sometimes they're obvious, other times they're not obvious. Like I think I don't
Hmm.
know. I heard that Logan Paul tried to jump on the flat earth bandwagon. He's like a ridiculous video maker of certain
Yep.
crazy videos. So like he may be fake. I don't know. I really don't know.
He was
Ultimately,
fake. He was
he was
fake.
fake.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. He's not a flat earther.
No, but he fooled a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Right. So in that case, that's a classic example. You know,
yeah.
I say Karen B and Jaron Campanella are pretty genuine because I think they're genuine because I listen to their videos and I've followed them through their flat earth conferences, and I think they make meaningful personal points. They're not scientists per se. They've done a few measurements, but mainly their presentations, their videos, they make sense to me. So that's why I think they're genuine. But you never know, you know.
You mentioned Mark Sargent. There's a commenter in the channel here who says that suggests that he thinks Mark Sargent is faking. But you mentioned Mark Sargent. So what do you think about Mark Sargent?
First of all, I like him because he's very interesting. I was listening to a video earlier about the enclosed system, like the 13th floor. So like, I admit I was a conspiracy buff before the flat Earth. So like, I think most people will have a problem with the flat Earth, even if it's true. You show it to them, they're gonna say no, 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 no. This is not right. This can't be right. Like Neo in the Matrix. No, no, no. This is not. No. You know.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's how bad it is. That's how badly they fooled us. That we're not willing to admit because we have pride and because we think we're smart that we've been duped. You know, and that's the main thing. That's the main barrier, I think, of flat Earth. Back to what was your question? I'm sorry.
Do you think Mark Sargent is legit or is he faking it?
I think he's legit, but the problem with Mark Sargent is he has different worldviews, like about enclosed systems, and like he talks about like what's that movie with where the corporation owns the baby?
Oh yeah, Truman Show.
Truman Show. You know,
Truman Show.
He's never been to the edge, you know, so he doesn't know. So he's just assuming that. So he has a lot of beliefs he throws in there to fit his narrative. You know, his narrative is, you know, he's talking about it could be digital, you know, talking about like the double slit experiment. You know, when we look at it, it changes. When we look at a cork or it changes whether we observe it or whether we look away. You know, so he's saying, oh, this is classic digital universe. You know, I don't know about all that. You know, but I think it's genuine. That's my belief. But you know, you never know. You know,
Okay.
I like his videos because it's so. My point was, I was a conspiracy buff before the flat Earth, so I loved stuff like that. Loved aliens, you know, ancient aliens. Like I was all on that. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe people are seeing stuff that it could be from beyond our the same plane, but beyond our boundary. Make sense?
Yeah,
So
sure.
instead of coming from super.
Dimension
Think
or
about it. You know, aliens are gonna come from distant galaxies. You know, galaxy light years away. You know, and then they're gonna crash into Mexico. Like maybe not. It's kind of like you know. So it could be if people seeing stuff, which I've never personally seen alien, but I love the conspiracy shows, the ancient aliens. Could be they're seeing stuff from different parts of the flat plane that we don't have access to.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about Mark, but I think he's legit.
Okay, that's fair. What did I have next?
How many people are in your chat?
We got 3 viewers right now.
Nice. Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate. Ask me some questions if you want. I'm the guy, you know.
Yeah, and one of them is a flat earther too.
I can't convince you.
Applause.
It's a flat
Welcome.
Hey, look, loyalty, man. Flat Earth.
All are welcome here, and make sure everybody that you are being respectful in the chat. And so far, it's not so bad.
Go to Quora. I have some flat Earth answers. A few of them. We can get past the D&D stuff and the stock market stuff. Eric Rodriguez. I think I'm a top Eric Rodriguez. I have a few followers. I have a YouTube channel, Affluence, and then the number 8 with no space. My friends call me Godric, Godric. Maybe you could put Godric in my name, also like
put Godric in your name,
AKA.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember that. Put that in the description.
But you can also put Eric Rodriguez, but put Godric in there too.
All right, a real flat earther. Welcome, Chris. So I was going to ask you, could you describe what research means to you on this topic? Because one of the things we hear pretty often is do your own research. So what does that mean? What does it mean to do your own research?
It can mean a number of things. The truth be told is most of the people, globe Earth or flat Earth, are not scientists. We don't have. I don't have a P900 myself. I don't go out there, Lake Pontchartrain, and see if I can see the building. I don't do that. I just kind of like, I don't really do research. The Lego experiment, that's like starting to do research. So what I found is that if you look, how I was showing you pictures of street lights, they
Uh-huh.
start going like this.
Yeah.
With my hand, they start
Yeah.
going. They start going like
They
this.
go, they go down, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah. If you lower the camera, they fall even farther,
Uh-huh.
which makes me think. Now we realize that the streetlights are about the same size. They don't shrink, so they're going down because not because the Earth is bending,
No.
but because they're getting farther away, and our perspective angular
Mm-hmm.
resolution is becoming smaller, and everything's going to go down to the size of a tiny dot. And this is my
Yeah.
my flat Earth example. Everybody's going to go down to the size of a tiny dot in the distance. It's going to vanish. You're not going to see it. And when people in the globe say, "Why can't I see China? Why can't I see the Mount Everest?" Because it would be the size of a tiny dot. You can't see it. It's the stuff in the way, man. You can't. You can't see that
Right.
far. You can barely even see down this picture of that have streetlights. They
You
eventually will
bet.
go into the ground and vanish. And that's my
You bet. And
experience.
I do want to just segue into, plug in my own channel a bit. What
Yes.
my point is that you can go deeper than that. You can go more than that. You can say, and you and I have been discussing this and working with the Legos, right? That things in the distance, they get small, they go down to a tiny dot, right? They do. This is agreed. We're not going to argue that we agree. I suggest you could ask more. You could say, how far away does it have to be before it's a tiny dot? Or you could say, is this street light or whatever it is going down the way we predict on a flat Earth? Or is it deviating from that in some way? Right? Does my view, like your idea of like you can't see China, I ask, not you can't see China. I suggest you say, can I see China? Right? See the difference? Instead of just saying, I can't because it's a tiny dot, you need to say, if I understand how perspective works, I can answer the question, can I see China or not? Right?
That is correct. And I appreciate that. And I think that you're onto something. Um, and we did a little exchange with the Legos. You said there'd be 4,000 Legos before it would go to nothing, right? So I think you're more of a mathematical guy than I am. I appreciate that, and that's why I like doing exchanges with you. And I think you're onto something. I think we should look into that more and do more proofs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I dig that. And I also think, for me, that's one of the things I think that's different about how you think and how I think. Right? We've
I'm
clearly
sure.
come to different conclusions
I'm
about
sure
the
we think
world.
differently. Yes, yes. I'm sure we think differently. Yes.
And my theory is, if we've come to different conclusions about the world, maybe it's because we look at things differently. And the way I look at things is like when you say, I can't see China, I say, can I see China? And you say, I can't see China. Right? There's like just a slight difference in how we're viewing that same situation.
Yeah. If you say you can't see China, you're not going to see China.
Right. You even said because it's too far away, right? It would be too small.
Well,
I
you
think.
wouldn't really be looking for it. Yeah. Maybe, like we said, how can I see China, or why can I not see China? You could start doing some experiments. Long angle experiments. You can see partly there if you're close enough. Maybe
Right.
how far can I see? That's a good question. How
There you
far
go.
can I see China? How many miles?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of
Yes,
saying
I'm okay with that.
I can't see China, you say, well, how close would I have to get before I could see the tallest mountains in China?
Yes, that's a
And
good one.
I think we could work that out.
Let's do it, man.
And then based on that, maybe we could sort of figure out if the Earth was flat or not, you know?
I think there is an answer. it's funny. It's funny. It's not so easy for me. It's not so easy because, like I said, globals always have the answer, and fathers have the answer, and it's like we're interpreting different ways. There's one thing could be said: science doesn't really find truth. You have to interpret it. You have to read the experiment, right? And
Mm,
you have to identify what it's telling you. It doesn't tell you. You have to identify what it's like a watch. It doesn't tell you what time it is. You have to look at
mhm.
it. You know,
Right.
science is a lot like that. You have to interpret uh, the results.
Mm,
So people want to say, "Oh, mirage, or lights bending." You can say
mm,
there's something in the way. There's fog. There's atmosphere. There's all kinds
mhm.
of crazy. So it's not so easy. You admit that, right?
Um,
If it was easy, I don't think there would be a debate.
I would point you to one of my first videos that I ever did on the topic, which is 20 cheap and easy tests to determine the shape of the Earth. Um, and in those tests, I don't give you the answers. I just say these are 20 tests, and they're all under $100, and they don't involve any math deeper than trigonometry. I know you mentioned you don't want to do trig. Some of them ask for trig, so you just skip those. But there's 20 of them. I would, if you wanted to do a test, I would say look through that list and see if any of those sounds good to you, and you should do it.
I want to say, I want to this brings up a point. Yeah, you should
Mm,
do it, and I appreciate that you didn't throw the answer at us because like flat earthers like get triggered when you're like, oh yeah, because this, because that, and then finalize it with a dummy. So it's
right.
like that's good that you're asking the questions because then you're opening the discussion and you have an open mind and you're not going to shove it down. We feel like we've already had the information shoved down our throats through all education. And the point I want to make
Yeah.
is this: you mentioned trigonometry. Um, I remember taking algebra 2. I haven't had trigonometry. I have a basic education. I graduated high school and did some college. Didn't have a degree in college. Did some business courses and started doing business and working. Um, and come to find out that most of the world has not had, probably 7 billion people haven't had college, haven't had trigonometry. So you're talking about maybe 10% of the world. Let's say we have 7.7 billion. I'm not sure exactly how many. Have
Whatever.
had this higher education that you've had, and
That's
here's the
true.
thing: you guys are not you guys, but I feel like the educated people are trying to beat us over the head with, "Oh, look, we have education, we're smarter, so we know that the Earth is round." And then my point is this: listen, man, if you need trigonometry to know if the Earth is round or flat, then we have a serious problem because you just dislocated 7 billion people in the world who have not had that higher education, college degrees.
Hmm.
So we need to take it down to a layman's terms to show this debate, not cosigning and stuff like that. Basic measurements, angles. We can do basic geometry, very basic. We can do basic math. If you can't accomplish it with that, I think that there's a serious problem.
Well, I would definitely say if you're interested in this, in looking for experiments, there are several on there that you don't need any trigonometry for. Um,
That's good. That's great.
right. But I think I hear what you're saying about if you don't know the math and then you encounter someone who they claim to know these answers.
Because they have the higher education.
Right. And then you don't have any, you feel like you don't have any means to check them. Right. You can't check whether they're right or not. Um, and then that leads, coupled with some other things that you feel, I guess you decide you're not going to trust them.
Really interesting.
Right.
And you can say and then the globe answer will be, oh, they're just stupid, they're uneducated. But
I've heard that a lot.
I can show you a video where John F. Kennedy, our late President John F. Kennedy, and another conspiracy, by the way.
Yeah, he's big with
Um,
conspiracy, folks. Big with
he
conspiracy.
has an interesting video. If you can find it, maybe we can link it. But it's about the secret societies, and John F. Kennedy talks about just real briefly, just real, and we think this guy's a very intelligent guy. He doesn't mince words. He said there's a monolithic conspiracy that's wrapped up in all facets. He says it's in the military. He says it's in the media. He says it's wrapped in science. What? At first people thought they was talking about communism, but he's not talking about communism. He could just say communism. So if the conspiracy is wrapped in science, it's wrapped in education, like NASA, that makes sense of flat earther, right? So we think that education is skewed. We think that education is corrupt. That's what we believe. So when you hit us over the head with these trigonometry equations, which we really don't, some of us don't get them. Then they built. You could have reverse engineered that to prove a globe, and that's why it works on paper, but it's not in reality.
Right. Okay.
Or at least in reality, it's under debate. You can say it works in reality, but
yeah.
But you showed me a few things, and I appreciate that. You taught me a few things, and I really appreciate that. I like to learn more. We were doing an experiment with the ice cube, with the gravity. I love that stuff. I love science, But I think there's a science, which we call science, which is true science. For Fahrenheit 451 ice cubes, and then there's a scientism, which I think they create themselves. Pluto, for example, this kind of stuff. We can't test it.
Why is Pluto scientism, but like 451 degrees is science? What's the difference?
Oh, I mean, we just can't verify. The average person can't go out there to Pluto. They say there's satellites out there. I don't know what they have out there. I can't verify that. I think they lied to us, so I think they're lying to us about satellites. Yeah.
Okay. So
when I first came to Flat Earth, if you Google a satellite, they have these, again, artists, pictures, drawings of satellites. Why don't they have a real satellite? And only recently they've been putting more satellites in the photos in the Google search. But if you notice, one side of it is like it's like this. So it's like held by a hand, I can tell it, so I can think it's fake. It's not a satellite by itself, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or pictures of satellites. So it's just like all this.
What is with my camera?
Nonsense.
Hold on a second while I refocus my camera.
Nonsense.
I'm not trying to block you out. I'm just trying to refocus my camera.
I think you're too far.
No, it didn't work.
Can you bring it closer to you?
Focus on my face. Oh well, I'll just be like incognito man. It's fine.
I've been told I'm kind of good looking, so maybe I'm overshadowing you a little bit.
That's probably what's going on. The camera is just tired of my face. Is what's going on.
How do people in the chat? Anybody left in the chat any questions?
Yeah, there's discussion going on about indoctrination, and
indoctrination
talking about conspiracy theories.
Indoctrination is basically, they blame religion, right, for that. They hit the kids when they're young, right? But they did the same thing with education. Hit them with the globe, hit them with asking my kid in first grade, what planet does she want to go to? Come on. That's not, sure. Come on, man.
Sure. What planet do you want to go to?
Shit, I want to go to Earth. I want to go to Earth. That's what I want to go to.
Honestly, that's a really good answer there, because any other planet you go to, if you believe the science, any other planet you go to, you can't live there, right? You're either gonna burn up, you're gonna freeze to death. There's no air. Earth is where you want to be.
And scientism is like telling us, oh, NASA found 6 more Goldilocks planets. They look like Earth. They're the same size. They have a Jupiter. Hey, this could be our planet with life. Except we haven't found any life yet. Mathematically, there's got to be 1,700 planets of life. Except we haven't found any. Believe NASA.
Let's dig into the
That's
scientism.
What I call scientism. That's what I call scientism.
Let's dig into the scientism thing real quick. It seems to me you're lying where science on one side, scientism on the other side. Where you draw the line is if you can't reproduce that experiment by yourself. Is that about right?
Not exactly. I believe in the science of my iPhone. I have an iPhone here. We're doing an interview on the iPhone. I don't know what the hell is an iPhone. Shit, that could be all kinds of crazy stuff in there.
Phone works.
If I open it, I'm sure I won't be able to put it back together. So I just believe in basic stuff. I feel like maybe that's tested, proven. But once you tell me that there's only 500 astronauts that have ever been off the planet, then I think that could have been faked. If you look into it, there was a few astronauts that got burned up, that got killed. And they tried to cover that up a little bit. Very hard.
Okay, hold on. Don't go any further on that. That's a forbidden topic on this channel. Just
sorry.
Yeah,
forbidden.
That's fine. We know what you're talking about. We know what you're talking about, and we're not going to go.
You're creating the conspiracy by forbidden stuff.
That's right. That's right. We don't talk about people's unfortunate deaths, and we don't tell people that their loved ones did not die. That's not something that we do here.
What's the next question?
Oh, let's just go on to the next question. I think it's the last one.
I didn't want to hurry through everything. I was just trying to.
Yeah, that's cool. What is your number one reason to believe the Earth is flat?
Oh, I don't know if you're qualified to answer that or just to hear that. I'll just give you a basic reason. I can see distant objects, and I believe this distant object should be neatly tucked behind the curve of the Earth. Buildings, for example. That's just what comes to mind.
Have you ever?
Hang on.
Go ahead.
There's a serious problem with a globe spinning. I was on McToon's channel, and I had a decent debate with Jack. And Jack's also a Korean. I call you guys Koreans in Korea. And I appreciate you guys, first of all. And I feel like we're like extended friends, and we can talk. And no, we don't name call or diminish each other. We respect each other. And I said, hey, if the ball's turning, does it, and the plane's up here,
Yeah, that's a topic I get a lot.
If the ball's turning, the plane's up here, how does the plane land on a moving runway?
Yeah, that's.
And the first thing I ask Jack is, by the way, is the turning ball tugging the plane? Is it tug the plane as it turns? And the only answer he really had is like conservation of momentum. But there's serious problems with that. If like flat earthers, if you take off, supposedly you're going whatever 1,000 miles an hour, let's say in that crater, But the problem with that is if you went to the North Pole, which is zero speed or close to zero, then where did your 1,000 miles an hour go? You just lost your momentum. And then you couldn't get back to China because China's going 1,000 miles an hour and you're only going 500 miles an hour. You just blew a big hole in it.
The thing about that is, and this I think really highlights this thing I was talking about, how I think very differently from you. You described the ball and the 500 miles an hour and how do you land, and you even described how Jack, his answer was, all he could say was conservation of momentum, as if to you that was an insufficient answer, whereas to me I'd say, well, yeah, right, conservation of momentum, there's your answer. Why isn't that good enough?
I think they reverse
clearly it isn't
that.
Good enough. And I'll tell you also that I've discussed at length with flat earthers this topic. Hey, I'm focused. And it's never been good enough. No amount. You fixed it for me. Thank you. It's all you. But yeah, no amount of explanation I've ever been able to describe, despite the fact that it works fine in my understanding and Jack understands it, I've never been able to express that in a way that a flat earther understood it.
This is something that it proves to us that we're really looking at something different. We really are. I actually thought that was a silly, stupid proof when I first came into flat earth. And Eric Dubay was doing it. Eric Dubay, simple, basic guy. He has some good points. But And he's spins the ball and how does the plane land on a moving runway? I thought, doesn't the plane move with the earth? That makes sense, right? But then, months later, maybe 6 months later, I just hit me like a lightning bolt. Wait a minute, a plane actually can't do that if it was spinning.
Right.
Oh, and I thought, oh my God, those
Only
moments,
the
defining
people.
moments.
Has it ever occurred to you that the people who design planes and people who build planes and the people who fly planes all agree? Yes, they do that. That is exactly how they do it. That ever struck you at all? That pilots
Yes,
and engineers
because
tell you that it works, and you're the ones saying it can't work.
yes, because they're flying on a flat Earth. That's why.
No, they'll tell you it works on a globe, and they understand why it works on a globe.
Let's talk about the people who cannot speak out. Those engineers who would get fired if they told the
Well,
boss that they
let me
wouldn't
just talk
fire.
for myself. Let me just speak for myself. I'm an aircraft engineer, or trained as one. I don't work in that field anymore. Um, it works fine, right? I'm telling you to your face right now, the math all works, the physics works. I understand it all. Why are you telling me that it doesn't?
You know what? For your benefit,
Hmm.
skip through the math and the physics because a lot of people aren't using physics in their older age unless they're doing that for their career.
Right.
What I would do is use real examples. You know, like use a real example of a conservation momentum. Like
Okay.
let's say
Let
with
me let
drones.
me try.
Let's
Just
say with
if you
drones.
got
Let's
it,
say
if you don't
how
mind.
fast do drones go?
A drone depends on the drone.
Like an Amazon drone, like a standard, simple, cheap drone.
Oh, I don't know. Anyone know how fast a drone goes? 100 miles an hour? I don't know.
Not that fast.
I really don't know.
So you do kind of throw me off and push me away when you say physics and math works out because you're
Right.
really just doing stuff on paper. What I want to see is you said conservation momentum, right? I want to see a
Hmm.
drone come off of a moving car, and I want to see it catch
Uh-huh.
up to another moving car. See if it'll do that.
Does it have
That's
to
what
go?
would show
Does
me.
it have to go out in the wind, or can it just be flying in the back of a moving van?
Well, that does make a difference, right?
Right, yeah, that makes all the
Well, the
difference.
point is that you show real examples and don't say physics.
Yes, I think that is a key that we've identified in our differences. Is when I say, or when someone says to me, "Hey, how does that work?" I want to get out the piece of paper and I want to work the math and say, "Yeah, it works out." But you're going to say
I want to
that
do
this
hands-on.
paper doesn't mean anything to me. I
Yeah.
want you to show it to me.
Yeah, I think that the conspiracies in education and that they've cooked the books. They've uh, reverse engineered all these equations to work on a globe, which is not. So I think.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I will try one
And you know
example.
what? And you know what? And back to education, you would have to put that answer on the test to get your grade, man. You can't have independent thoughts.
I
You
would
didn't
say
think.
that that's not in my experience at
No, it
all
is. If a
with
flat
school.
earther would not graduate college, he'd be failed
I
because he
would
would say, "Hey,
say
you know
that's
what? It's a
probably
flat
true.
because I can
That's
see
probably
these
true.
Legos and it's flat. I can see these buildings, and he can do a little experiment, and they would fail him. They wouldn't give him his degree. He'd have to lie
Mm,
to get to his degree.
there's a certain amount of truth in what you're saying.
Okay, I'll go with that. Certain amount. I'll go with
There's
that.
a certain amount of truth in what you're saying. If I mean, I don't teach that field at all, but if I was teaching physics, right, and one of my students put on he wanted to. I mean, I don't ask. No one's going to ask the question, "Is the Earth flat?" on a physics test, so it's not going to come up. But let's say there's a
Well, let's say it
PhD.
came up.
Let's say a PhD candidate wants to do his research on the flat Earth. No, he's not going to be accepted. Um, just flat out, no. So you're right about that. That's absolutely true. There's going to be a big discrimination against that.
And is it possible? I just heard this. I don't know if it's true, but is it possible that Harvard or Yale can actually revoke your degree? Is that true? I heard
I
that.
think they can. Yeah, I
So
suppose.
like,
Yeah.
and like some stuff is happening like online where like the girl will like choke her dog or do something crazy, and then she'll get reprimanded like in her job. She'll get fired from her job, for example. So this is something that we didn't think would happen. Like people are getting caught doing stuff online, and then
Right.
they get reprimanded, like completely different area. So a flat earther, you say to some closet flat earthers who went to Yale couldn't really would put their degree at risk and probably their whole career possible if
Possibly.
they came out. Come
Yeah,
on, man.
I think
Now,
you're
is
right
that
about
fair?
that.
Come on, man.
I think you're right about that.
That's to me, that's a
But
serious
on the
problem
flip side, there's the reason for it.
because of what they believe.
No, I mean the reason that would happen is because the people who do trust in math, the people who do trust in
Yeah.
physics, right? Not you and your people.
They think
but
they
the
have it.
people
They think
who-
they have it figured out.
The people who teach physics class, they go by math, and there's no way to show in the math that the Earth is flat according to their math, right? Their math.
According
Let me
to
ask you
their
this.
math.
Does their math, are you aware that their math shows a globe?
I think it depends. I think the whole education system shows a globe, and they make up these equations to show that, to prove it. And my point is, whether it's not true or false. My point is, you can't have another narrative than that. That's my point.
You can't. What was that? You can't have.
You can't have another narrative than what they're telling you, than what's in the book. And that's my point. You can't have a different result. You can't have a different answer. You can't have an independent answer. You have to follow the mainstream. And if you pay attention, they're what they're doing in college is they're trying their best to cut out God, because they're saying we're creating the universe from explosion without God. That's what they're saying. They're not saying we don't know. They're not saying we don't know. They're saying we're cutting out God because we don't need God because we have the Big Bang. So
I've heard that argument.
It goes together.
I think we're going a bit far afield. I wanted to follow up on what you were just saying about there's no other answer. You have to put the answer that they want. What if it was a math test, and the question is, what is 1 + 1? And you want to put 7. Should the teacher pass you because your beliefs say that it's 7?
That's the really basic one. If I can show that there's let me put it a different way. If I can show there's a number between 3 and 4, and I can show that mathematically on paper, I think I should get credit for that. If I can show somehow it equals 7, not 1 + 1, that sounds stupid, right? But something that can equal 7, even though their answer is 17, for example, then I should get credit for that.
1 + 1.
Wait.
The question is 1 + 1.
I don't know how 1 + 1 can mean 7. I don't know how that can be.
So pretty much the teacher should mark that as wrong, right?
The point is,
just answer that question.
I don't know how that can be 7.
So
if teacher should mark that wrong.
The teacher should mark that wrong. Okay. Yes, so we can get more and more complicated with the math question, but there is a correct answer to this math question.
I think there's a correct answer, and I think then it turns to, when you start going to advanced physics, starts turning to a gray area.
Why is it
theoretical physics? An elephant hanging off of a ledge with his tail. Stuff like that. Why even do that? We're trying to live in reality, and they're doing stuff like that theoretically.
Is it gray because it's something you don't know how to do? What if the teacher?
No, it's gray because it can go.
It's
gray because it can go either way. Example: I can see distant objects. The world's flat. Now here's my problem. You would mark that wrong as a science teacher, but I'm saying, hey, if I can see 50 miles, that's flat, man. There's no curve. If I can put the math in there too. And this is what's called a gray area, because you can do the measurements, and one side you can say a globe, on one side you can say flat. So when you say 1 + 1, that's black and white. But as you get higher and higher into the education, it becomes a gray area. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because you can have two different answers. You know how in philosophy you get two different answers because
Yes.
it's philosophy. Okay.
Yes.
Where math is supposed to be the same answer. But as you go higher and higher theoretically, I don't know if it's a mistake or if the math doesn't catch up to reality, or if the math is debunked at some point. But becomes a gray area because you're getting real people. Forget. You're getting real people. They're getting two different answers, and that's what I call gray area.
Okay. That's cool. In fact, I like to deliberately ask questions that have multiple different answers, multiple different valid answers. I like to do that because it makes people think and it makes people see the other side. But sometimes there are not multiple answers. There's only one answer that actually works. And I
Right.
think a lot of times people have the impression that there are multiple answers, but they haven't actually checked to see if all of the answers work.
There's one thing you have to consider.
Hmm.
People think differently.
Hmm.
So when you present a problem or question, they're thinking about one thing, and maybe the originator tried to do on purpose a trick, or they didn't, but they're thinking about a different thing. And you get two students, let's say they're both intelligent, they'll have different answers because they were looking at different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's how they interpret it.
Well, I can't speak for all teachers, but I embrace that. If there are two both correct answers, or if there's an answer that I thought was incorrect, but the student can make a good argument for why it's correct, I embrace that. But
Yes,
I insist
I agree.
that you can't just make it up and say that it's correct. You have to actually show that it's correct. So, like when you
I would
say,
want to show the work. Yeah, I want to see that
show
work.
your work. Like when you say, I can see that thing 50 miles away. I'm going to say that's not enough information to answer this question. You have to say how tall that object is and where you're viewing from, what your height above the surface you're viewing from. And then we could probably use that observation to tell us the approximate shape of the Earth if you gave me all that information. And there would only be one correct answer.
According to you. I disagree at that point. I'm with you on the 1+1, but not on the one correct answer.
Right. So the 1+1.
So we're gonna differ. We're gonna differ at that point.
But at some point, things get fuzzy. Things get gray.
Yeah.
At some point.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate you said that you embrace different answers, but you got to prove it, and that's kind of what the real flat earthers are trying to do. The ones that aren't fake are trying to, prove it with their own experiments. There are. Let me just say this: there are some really bad flat Earth proofs that, to me, that sounds silly, But there are some I think that take further investigation, and that it's either in a gray area or, to me, it just proves that it's flat. And you have to interpret the results, and if you interpret it as flat, it's flat. If you interpret it as round because of all these other crazy thing, light bending, I say that because I'm a flat earther, but you can defend your globe beliefs by saying, we have, I don't know, whatever, light refraction, whatever you want to say, mirage,
right.
Phantom Organa, whatever.
Right. I hear that. I definitely hear that. The best flat Earth evidence, and a lot of people say there's no evidence for flat Earth. No, there is. There is evidence that supports a flat Earth. The very best one is when you shoot a laser or some other light source very close to, usually water is the best. You skim some water over a long distance, and people have got that light to skim along the surface for like 30 miles. And yeah, that if you don't take refraction into account, that's impossible on a globe. So that's good flat Earth evidence. I would give you that one.
Okay, now let me say this. Flat earthers say test proves it's flat. Globers say whatever the answer they say, because of this, So you can give your answer, and that would be like a gray area.
Yeah, I definitely I agree that one is quite gray. Because in order to make it work on a globe, you need refraction. And that complicates things. That means you have to study refraction, you have to
Very much so.
study air density and things like
And
that.
here's where I insert scientism, because they're going to have to say whatever they need to say to make it a globe in the education. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying education is skewed. You have to believe the formulae, because you're saying it's round, it's refracted. I'm saying it's flat, it's not refracting.
Actually, I'm saying quite something different. I'm saying that you can science it. If
I like the name. I can science that. I like that name of your channel, by the way.
I can
I hope
science
you get
that.
a lot of subscribers.
If you had a question about where did they get this formula, that they want me to memorize this formula, they can't prove that. That's bull, right? I'm going to say, well, I can science that. I can show where that comes from. I can design a test to see if it's true or not. I don't accept it just because somebody told me, and I don't think you should either. That's what I'm saying. It's a little different. I'm not just making up that refraction happens. I'm wearing glasses, right? Refraction happens. That's a known thing. The people who made these glasses, they're really good at it. They know how it works, right?
They do. And
They do. And I trust them, right? And even though I trust them, I still can science it, right? I can still go in and design experiments. I've done a couple to see whether their formulas are correct.
I'd like to see more experiments on your channel.
Yeah,
I think you have some potential for your channel.
I'm getting ready to do a few actually. Honestly, when I first got into this, I thought experiments would be a big deal. I thought the flat earthers would rush to come join me and do some experiments, and we'd find out for reals. You know how many flat earthers have joined me in experiments so far?
Can I include myself, because I did?
Include yourself, yeah.
One.
That's one. That is correct.
Let me tell you this. When you say physics and trigonometry, I kind of get turned off, honestly. Like, I know really basic stuff, and I don't get to chapter 2. So that's why I feel like I can't do those experiments you're doing. I gotta put my Legos in a row. I gotta put my boats in a row at the beach, and I'm unfortunately without the cosine and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I want to say I appreciate that. From talking to you, I think I've learned that. Hey, Al Case here. Welcome, Al. One of my first experiments was, the perspective, like the one we're doing with Legos. And I said, we won't do anything any more advanced than trigonometry. And because I figured that was a good cutoff line. But you're right. You're absolutely right. That's even a bit too much.
I think so. Yeah, because the average person that watches a video, there's a group of people that do trigonometry and do physics, and then there's everybody else, and even if you cited why, here's the rule, the flat earth is going to say, what, it's corrupted, there's a monolithic conspiracy in education, it's in science, so even if you taught me and it's sort of a barrier, because if we're not going to trust, science, then how are we going to really find anything out, And I'm going to go back to what I said. Don't give me any kind of formulae. I want to see this drone make it to this car. You can do inside of a truck and outside of a truck. And that will, I think, at least shed some light. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I could be. I admit I could be wrong. Don't think I'm wrong, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, you know what? Let me make an attempt with you while we're here for the airplane flying and landing on the Earth. Um, I used to put model airplanes in the wind tunnel and test them. That was what I do. So we have the air flying and the ground holding still, right? And then there's the airplane. Okay. So if you, one of the things I also did was I put a car in the wind tunnel, car model in the wind tunnel at one point. Now that was a problem because a car drives along the ground, right? And so that's a little bit different. So what we had to do is put a conveyor belt in the wind tunnel. So now we got wind blowing and the ground moving. And then the car could drive while holding still in the wind tunnel. So could a plane land like that? If the wind is blowing in the wind tunnel and the plane has got the ground going on a conveyor belt, could a plane land on that conveyor belt?
So the experiment is you're on the asphalt, like a road, right? And you have a conveyor belt going. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're in a wind tunnel, so the wind is blowing 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour wind.
This is a real experiment.
Real experiment, yeah.
So you have
the
asphalt.
ground, the ground is a conveyor belt that's going around and around at 100 miles an hour.
So
it's moving at the same speed.
You have a conveyor belt, and then you have the asphalt.
Well, there's no asphalt. It's a wind tunnel. It's it's made of steel.
So you're not landing?
No, it was a car. But let's imagine we wanted to land an airplane on that. In the wind.
Well, let's be clear. It's a car airplane, but so a conveyor belt's moving in the wind tunnel, and there's wind, and can your drone land on that moving conveyor belt, right?
Yeah. What would that be like?
When did it start off? Where did it start off from? The car? Moving car?
I mean, I put a.
I would like to see this experiment. It's hard for me to get an answer for you, but I'd like to see the experiment. I think I'll just insert that. That's a great idea, by the way. It might show something, but my problem is you're saying conservation of momentum, right? Which is a thing, but if you are starting from the equator, which is spinning 1,000, and move to North Pole, which is not spinning 1,000, there goes your momentum gone.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
that is correct.
So I want to see your experiment. Then I want to see my experiment. I don't know how to do my experiment, but maybe we can do something. Maybe we can have a fast-moving conveyor belt and then a slow-moving conveyor belt. See if that drone can jump across.
Yeah, it's interesting. The fundamental thing that people don't seem to grasp about the 1,000 miles an hour is that the air is moving with the Earth. The air is also moving at the same speed as the Earth.
Right, it would have to be, right?
It would have to be. Otherwise, you'd have 1,000 miles an hour of wind.
Right.
Right? And we can all agree we can all agree that we don't have 1,000 miles an hour wind. So,
or it could be flat, and that's why you don't have the wind. Not moving.
That could be
stationary.
That could be. There's nothing about flying around that tells us that it's a globe, but there's also nothing about flying around that tells us that it's flat. When you say a plane can't do that, well, of course a plane can do that if the wind is matching the ground.
Stationary.
What's that?
It's not the flat. It's the stationary. It's stationary.
Right.
Yeah. They have a moving.
You're right.
And Jack said that. He said whether it's moving or not, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Like what? That's
right.
The problem. That to me is the problem.
That's
then you're now we're in the gray area now. Well, it
We're in
could
the gray
be
area.
stationary. So we'll have to do those experiments. We'll have to show them. I like to see them on your channel. Is there anybody in the chat that had any more questions that I can answer?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. So, is there anybody in here who wants to ask something? Al K tells me I need to get a webcam instead of a P900. I'm thinking I should take this webcam and point it at the stars and see what the stars really look like.
That's one way. We don't like that because we don't think that the star measurements are accurate. We think that there's a Earth system that's here, and the stars spin around like this over the stationary world, and that's how we see it. And I know that you've
did you
explained
know
it different ways.
That while the stars are going around, they also do little circles? So they're actually going circles as they go around? Did you know?
You can show that to me. I'm not sure about that part. You can show it to me.
And also, what happens at the South Pole?
I've heard that they have a different system down there. I can't confirm that, but I like to learn about that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what though, the flat Earth roundup debate has brought some light to certain stuff. Like for example, I thought, because I watch TV, must be crazy, that if you flush a toilet in the southern pole, it would go one way. If you flush a toilet in the northern pole, it would go another way. That's what I thought because it was on TV.
Yeah, that's right. It's on TV.
That's a myth, right?
It's a myth. It's on The Simpsons.
Okay. Official myth.
Yeah.
Oh, The Simpsons are great, by the way. I love Simpsons. They have that one.
A lot of people think that. And
the ball hit the ferment, and then the water came out. And it flooded it.
Honestly, I think that what you just described about the myth of the toilet is a great example of why a lot of people don't trust science, because they heard one thing. They heard that if you flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, that the water goes the other way. I heard that. I probably heard it from a science teacher. But it's not true, right? And then when you eventually discover, hey, now they're saying that wasn't true, that can lead a lot of people to a sense of mistrust for the whole scientific system. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it does mistrust. And I don't know why that was the thing, It could be like on your defense, it could have just been made up from a scientist or not a scientist and put in as a science answer. And then we caught him, it's a myth. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, there's another one. I forgot what I was going to say, but the point is that there are these little things that you can try to test, and science expects to have them come out the way they were taught. And if they're not, then yeah, people get they get upset, they get disillusioned.
Yeah, you know what? I'll back you up on that a little bit. We're doing an experiment. I'm doing an experiment with my daughter right now. We're doing the same thing with the ice that we did before. And we left the ice out overnight to melt, and then we weighed it the next day. I waited about 24 hours later, and lo and behold, it came out light. It came out lighter the next day than it was the first day. And I was a bit dismayed because we didn't get the correct answer.
Did the water evaporate? Is that what happened?
Very good. 10 points for Godric. Yes, I measured it an hour later, and an hour after that, an hour after that, and I can now tell you what the rate of evaporation is on my.
Okay. You must have a very accurate scale to measure that.
Yeah, it's pretty rapidly evaporating. It's evaporating about 1 gram an hour.
So maybe your house is dry, maybe?
Yeah, it's apparently been pretty hot and dry, so the water's really going fast.
I saw something. There's supposed to be gravity, right? So how is that gravity letting that water go into the air?
It's amazing. Yeah.
But that's just what I thought. I don't know. I'm sure
water vapor might be less dense than water.
Example for it.
Do you think water vapor might be a little less dense than water?
Well, when you boil a pot, right, the smoke goes up, right?
Yeah. So
doesn't really prove gravity, but it goes
not
up.
really. Not really. All right. So let's see. Al had a question.
Al, you're talking to a creationist, Republican, flat earther, dude. You can't get any better than this, bro.
So here's
I'm
Al's
out.
question.
I'm out.
What was that?
Can you hear me?
I wasn't listening. Say it again.
I said, Al, you're talking to a Republican, creationist, flat earther. You can't get in. Can't beat that. All right. I'm late to the party.
Here's Al's
Just
question.
one question. Read it for me.
Do you see it on the screen?
Yeah, but
Does he watch debunking channels? And if so, has he learned why anything he believed about flat Earth was wrong and discarded it? And yeah, actually, I think you mentioned that there were some things that you found out were wrong.
well, there's some stupid flat Earth proofs, like some guys doing their own flat Earth video talking about the plane going upside down on Australia. There's just silly stuff like that. Like they think that it can't do that, you know. And I think that there is a conceptual problem. Like people can't conceive in their mind like a globe, and then you have a plane on top, and then on Australia it would be technically upside down, but not from the standpoint of Australia, from the standpoint of being up from the top of the world, right?
Yes. Very good and well said.
So that's just like an example of a failed flat Earth proof, you know, right? But he mentions a point that I want to make. Debunking channels. Do you know that YouTube is promoting debunking channels when you Google flat Earth? Before there used to be, you know, Eric Dubay used to be up there, Mark Sargent, and now there's all the debunking channels. It's hard to get to these real videos we want to get to, you know. So, and they admit that they're controlling the content because they think we're snake oil salesmen, you know. And this is, it's flat Earth is dangerous, you know. Like wow, like you know, which is censorship. Which is why censor something if you can disprove it? Why would you want to censor it? You know, that's one answer.
I'd love to answer those questions. I don't know if you meant for them to be answered, but why censor something if you can't disprove it, or if you can just disprove it? The answer is because we can disprove it, but people don't believe us. Earlier in the discussion, you said that even if I took you up in a rocket and showed you the ball Earth, just like the NASA photos, you still wouldn't believe it.
I said I don't know, for the record.
You said I don't know, right? And I think that really crystallizes the answer to your question. How come you can't just disprove this? The answer is because we can disprove it, and we have disproved it, but many people don't agree. They refuse to accept what most of us consider as proof.
You can just say flat earthers.
Yeah.
To answer, is his name Alec?
Alke, yeah.
Thank you, Alke, for that. I appreciate. For the most part, I think I've learned more. I'm a simple layman guy. I do like stock market stuff, play D&D. I'm a Christian, so I'm not a sciencey guy. So I would say that I learned more about flat Earth by looking at flat Earth, not discarding stuff, just learning more stuff. You know, like there's apparently there's a problem flying through a vacuum. Like you can't really fly through a vacuum because there's nothing to push off of. That's another thing. And I know you have an answer for that. You know,
of course. But
these are just serious problems, like the moon landing. You know, like if they lied about that, that's a serious problem. You know.
WS has a question. If you'd like to answer this one.
Read it for me. I can see. It's very small on my screen.
Yeah. Discuss the angle of the moon from Australia compared to the UK.
Oh,
it's upside down compared to.
I have no idea, but I'll tell you what, though. If you, WS, sir, if you go to your front door and draw a moon, just draw a happy face on your ceiling on a paper and tape it up there. And say the eyes are pointed towards you, towards the door. Okay, and you can see the eyes first and then the mouth under that. That's the angle. The eyes first and the mouth. Then go to your kitchen and look at the same picture. What you'll find is two different perspectives. You'll see that the mouth is closer to you over here, and the eyes are closer to you over here, which is exactly what we see different places of the world with the moon. So that's my answer. You don't need.
Okay.
You can do it in your living room. You don't need to be in Australia. You can do it in your living room. You know.
Yeah, that's very good. Have you ever actually looked at? Do you have a flat Earth map? Do you have a map that you believe is accurate?
Just the one they use. The what is it? The one that's flattened out.
Yeah, like Gleason map or whatever.
I don't think it's so accurate, but it's accurate as far as not being. You can't go north and end up south, for example, because you'll hit the ice barrier, right? You understand?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of map I believe in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's so accurate. How could it be accurate? Like you guys have 500 years or 1,000 years to work your map, pull the wool over our eyes, and trick us. So
right.
I can't say that our map is right, but there's a problem with going south, for example. So we think that the North Pole is in the center of the map, and if you go any direction, it's south. So if you keep going south, you will not appear all of a sudden north again. You're just going to go into the ice ring.
Right.
Which is...
So WS's question about the moon, I understood your answer about if you put something on the ceiling, and then as you walk around in the room, you'll see that circle on the ceiling from different angles. WS, hopefully that answers your question there. Although I will follow it up with asking, have you ever, I don't know, put a circle on your flat Earth map and looked at it and said, if you're standing here on the flat Earth, this is what you'll see. And if you're standing here on the flat Earth, this is what you'll see. Have you ever compared that with what people actually see?
I think I know what you're saying. There's one video I saw where the flat Earth map doesn't work out, quote unquote, from different angles, looking from Australia, whatever. I couldn't tell. I don't know how you can verify that, but I'm willing to look into that. I hope you can maybe do a video on that one, and I can comment. I can say, hey, maybe you showed me something, maybe you didn't, but let's look into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
No, just WS is mentioning that a circle, if it was a circle, then as you looked at it from different angles, it wouldn't be a circle, it'd be an oval. Do you have any thoughts about that? Hey, if you made a smiley face, right? You made a smiley face and you stuck it up on your ceiling. It's not a circle anymore, right? Do I have a circle here? I don't know.
Well, that's a problem. That's a problem that the globe has. Because if there was a real planet,
so
that is a real. Okay, so let me just say this.
It is round, but if you look at it from below, it's not a circle anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem that the globe Earth has, because they're saying that the moon is a planet, right?
The moon is a circle or a sphere, right? The moon is a sphere, so no matter what
if I was
angle you
over
look at
here, I would see a different angle of the moon. I would see some of the dark side of the moon. If I was over here, I'd see a completely different angle, not the same picture. What you're showing me, you guys can show like a 5% deviation. Not enough.
Why is that not enough?
I just don't think it's enough. I think you'd be able to see more of the moon. If it was a ball, if it was round.
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing is the moon obviously has its own light. It glows at night. Doesn't reflect sunlight, obviously. Observably, that's what I see. That's another problem you guys have, I think.
Okay. That's
I've heard that. It's like a light bulb. Like if you look at it, it's like a light bulb. Like you can't get that from a reflection of the sun. To me, it's silly, but we've been told that in school, so it must be true. But now we're questioning what we learned.
Have you ever done the thing where you go outside at night and hold up a ball? Hold up a ball like next to the moon to see if the light is the same on the ball as it is on the moon?
Not exactly. No. What do you expect to find?
Have you heard of that one?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
I heard of the. It's
an interesting thing to try. the globe assertion. The globers say that if you hold up a ball looking at the moon, like if there's the moon right there and I hold up a ball, that the angle of the light on the ball, this only happens during the day. I said at night. I probably said at night. Only works during the day when you can get the sun to hit your ball, right? So if the sun is on your ball and the sun is on the moon and you hold them up together, the angle of the light on the ball is the same as the angle of the light on the moon.
Interesting. I haven't done that. Interesting. I don't know if that proves, but it's good. It's good to do that.
I don't know. Proof is a weird word, but what it suggests is that the angle of the light on the moon is caused by the same light source that is lighting your ball.
Right. You can associate the two objects and say this is the sun at work, right? I get that.
Yeah. So I would suggest that's
you could put it down as a mild proof, you know.
And then you might say, maybe that moon is lit by the sun. It sure looks like it. Right. That's what us globers would say.
Any more questions?
Any other questions, you guys? I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for coming on, Eric. And you got anything last minute thing you want to pitch out there before we go?
I just want to say I appreciate the interview, the time you got. Where you're very respectful and nice to me. Thank you. I'm usually, attacked, criticized. So
yeah, thanks for coming on.
I'd like to do a round two. You can do those more questions at me. Like do round two, but also maybe in the round two, maybe we can show some examples. Still not debating, but so it doesn't get hairy. But maybe show some.
If you want to, and maybe you can come up with some questions for me.
Yes, I will. I'll do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for staying respectful here in the chat as well. All right.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.